I have a nonprofit that I founded back in 2015 called Foundation for a Slavery-Free World, Slavery-Free World for short. And I did that because back in 2012, I started hearing about, ugh, I started hearing about sex trafficking. I started hearing about something called child sex trafficking. I was like, what? And child brothels and men that were buying children to have sex with. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Like, this doesn't exist. And I was shocked that not only did it exist, but it existed everywhere, including in the United States, right? And this is back in 2012. No one was talking about this outside of the movie Taken, which was like, oh yeah, but that happens over there. That doesn't happen here. I was shocked. And I ended up, to make a long story short, I befriended this guy who just left the CIA and Homeland Security, and what he would do is he would travel around the world infiltrating trafficking rings and literally getting kids out. And so he took me with. He's like, "Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like I have to. I couldn't comprehend that something like this was occurring at all. And so I felt like in order for me to understand it, I had to dive in as much as I possibly could. And so I did. And I went with him. And I went to those foreign countries. And I went to the United States. And I did operations. And I pretended to be kids. And I pretended to be buyers. And I pretended to be sellers. And it was, to this day, it's still the darkest thing, the most evil thing I feel in the world. How anyone could do that to a kid. It's unreal. And so I'm going to jump all over the place, but I formed my nonprofit because I was doing all of these things and meeting with all of these nonprofits and all of these government officials and senators and congressmen in the State Department and Homeland Security and even the White House. And I was doing more than just being a spokesperson. Like, I looked around DC and I was like, okay, yeah, so actors show up because, and I would see them and they'd go for a meeting because they're being a spokesperson for clean water or whatever. But I was doing a lot more than that. And I really felt like I needed to do more. And so I formed my nonprofit mainly just to be taken seriously. Just so I had a 501c3, so it wasn't just actress. It was, no, I'm an actual activist and I have my own 501c3, so that I could open more doors, so I could learn more, so I could collaborate more, so I could do more, essentially. And so I've been doing, that's my other day job, essentially. I've branched out into documentaries and showing this world, and podcasting. I have my own podcast where I bring all the guys that I went undercover with on the show. So we talk about it, and experts in different angles of the problem. And now people know about trafficking. Now it's talked about. Now there's operations every year with the FBI called Operation Cross Country, where they do nothing but undercover stings to get kids out. But A, it's nowhere near enough. We need those every single day. And B, America is now one of the top 3 countries in the world for sex tourism. Like, wait, what's that word? What's that word you said? Sex tourism? Yeah, sex tourism, where people fly from all over to come to your country to have really gross sexual relationships with kids. United States. Good old US of A. And people would think, oh, those poor girls in Mexico, those poor girls in Poland or the Ukraine or the Philippines. Yes, those poor girls. What about the poor girls in America? Because it's American citizens that this is happening to. It's our kids. And then when I think about it, and I could go on this forever, but not only our kids, this is the future mothers of the next generation. I did all this because I couldn't sleep, because it's incomprehensible that this occurs. And so I had to do something about it, because I had to sleep, because I'm a mother, because I'm a woman, because I'm a human being. Cruelty to other human beings, let alone kids, is insanity. And you can't make sense, and you can't make something sane that is insane. So that's what I do in my other my other job is I run my nonprofit. We get podcast guests on. We work on laws. We work on spreading the word. We work on essentially grassroots education. In fact, I'll tell you a story. So I go around and I go to schools sometimes and I speak on this and I tell them everything that I've seen and how to protect themselves. And we've had Meta on. We've had the head of Instagram and Facebook on for global safety on my podcast, talking about how your kids can protect themselves from social media and from predators, right? So this is, this is my other passion. But I'll tell you a story. So a friend of mine, whose kid was born about a month before mine, he's a boy, she calls me up out of the blue and she goes, Marisol, oh my God. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I need your help. I'm like, okay. And this is someone who wouldn't come to my events because it was too dark. So she knew I did this, but she was like, I can't. And I'm like, just come. Like, I don't make it so overwhelming. I make it so you want to do something. Anyway, so she called me up and she goes, I woke up in the middle of the night and something told me that I needed to check on my son, 15-year-old boy. She's like, so I went to his room. His door was locked, like always. And I went back to bed and I got back up and I was like, no, go check on, I'm just going to say my son because I don't want to say his name. So she goes and she unlocks the door and he's not there. And she's like, oh my God. I mean, you would never guess this kid ever. So she's like, the first thing I did was call his phone. So she's like, Marisol, I called his phone. It was 2 a.m. He was in an Uber. I was like, what? He was in an Uber going to meet a girl that he had met on Instagram that sent him an Uber to 2.5 hours away. So anyway, she's freaking out. She got her son back. She starts sending me the girl's profile. I'm like, this is a fake account. This is a full-on fake account, like full-on. And if you know this world, you can tell in a heartbeat. But if you don't, you don't, right? So anyway, long story short, I put her in touch with my contacts. I worked with the sheriff. This was in Florida. I worked with the sheriff in Florida, so he got in touch with her. Long story short, they traced the call. There's no 15-year-old girl at the address where they were sending her son, and they're still tracing it and trying to see how many other people that this essentially group has been targeting in the area. But this is a kid from a well-to-do family in a normal suburb. It can happen anywhere. If your kid is online, the predators can get them. It doesn't matter. Your kid can be right next to you in bed talking to a predator and chatting because you don't know. And it sucks. And I have a kid and she's 15 and she loves being online. And so to me, we're never going to solve this by people doing ops, doing operations, taking the bad guys off the street, passing laws. It's all great. But it's like hitting whack-a-mole. I don't know if you remember that circus game. You hit and it pops up, and you hit and it pops up. The only way we're ever going to make a dent in it is if you go directly to kids and you educate them and you tell them what to look for. Because the predators are there all day long with 5 different computers going in their basement, just chatting with kids and going where kids are and what app are the kids on and da-da-da-da-da and talking like them and being like them and fake accounts, making them seem like they're a kid, and you don't know. And they have all the time in the world. So that's what I'm working on. That's my, it's like my passion and my heartbreak all at once, and I won't stop, and we need more people. So thank you for letting me talk about it on this, because maybe someone will go, I know what, I'll help you, or I'll come on, or can you come speak at my school, or here's some funds, because we're building a whole curriculum out to teach kids. So it's another full-time job. So thank you.